For over a decade, I've been running a YouTube channel here in New York City teaching people about and reviewing technology. Not too long ago though, John Deere brought myself and a few others in the industry out to farms to see their equipment, but also talk with farmers and just learn more about farming in general. After multiple trips like this over a couple of years, the more farms I visited and the more farmers I spoke to, the more I realized just how much actually went into farming and how little of it I knew. I was fascinated. And I bet if more people knew, they'd also be just as surprised. So, not that long ago, I asked John Deere if they'd be interested in letting me try farming myself in an effort to learn more and document it all to show others how farming actually works. And surprisingly, they said yes. First, the Deere team brought me to North Dakota to meet with Chelsea, a third-generation farmer and rancher, where I got to spend the day with her on her farm, meet her cows, and also get a first taste and a crash course, really, on some of the business things that I'd have to deal with on my own farm soon enough.
So cash price for March corn yesterday was $4. The futures were $4.40. Our basis is 40 under, and we lost 6 cents yesterday.
After deciding that corn futures were way too difficult for me to understand, I flew to Des Moines, Iowa, and drove 30 minutes out to Bondurant, where one of the John Deere test farms is located, to see for the first time the land that would become my farm. And this is it. This 20 acres of land behind me. Over the next 5 months, I will have to till, plant, spray, and harvest corn from, and all while hopefully turning a profit. This ought to be interesting. After a few months, it was time to head back to Iowa. And now I'm back on the farm, and today I actually get to use machines in my field. Or at least that's what would happen if it weren't for a small issue. The ground is still too wet. But I'm here, and there's plenty of other work we can do. Essentially, if we tried to go out into the field with this 13-ton tractor, we'd just end up making a mess of the field, basically. So instead, I headed out with Mike, a senior group product manager of autonomy at John Deere, in one of their Gators, which is essentially like a jacked-up off-road golf cart.
You're ready to go. You're going to hit start recording, and then your job is just to drive
go straight
as you can down the edge of this field.
So cool start. Yeah. So essentially what I was doing was outlining my field using a GPS receiver mounted to the top of the Gator by driving along the outside edge of the field.
All right, good. And you can just stop here and hit save.
Done. Once done, we went into the farm office where I got to meet Kevin, a senior group product manager of Monitor and Analyze from John Deere, and Steven, my agronomist, which is essentially a scientist in the field of soil management, crop production, and just agriculture in general. It's actually a job I didn't know existed until this day, but it turns out a lot of farmers actually hire an agronomist to help consult them on the management of their field, what seeds they should choose, fertilizers or herbicides, etc. And we then proceeded to go over a lot more planning and data than I expected. Now, we used Operations Center, John Deere's farm management software, and started to look at the data that we had just gathered from the Gator first.
You can see the boundary that we precisely mapped. That's the exterior field boundary that's mapped to sub-inch accuracy of where you physically drove the tire of that Gator.
I clicked a few buttons in Operations Center, and it used that boundary map and a feature that they call AutoPath to instantly create a path for my equipment to drive along specific for tillage using a 30-foot wide tillage tool. After that, I navigated to another page and did the same thing for the path of our 40-foot wide planter tool. We'll get to what those are shortly. And then we sent the plan to the tractor out in the field so that once I can finally get into the field, we're ready to just go.
This is all about in the off season, when you've got the time, create the plan, and when you pull in the field drive, hit the ground running and just be productive.
Next, we went over soil tests.
So each one of these points is where they took a sample and pulled out potassium, magnesium, organic matter percents, all these different things. And you can see the heterogeneous nature of this field. It is different
across the whole place.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. You would not want to plant a flat rate consistently over that entire field because that field is not the same.
Essentially, we need to know where all these things are concentrated or missing throughout the field so that we can figure out just how many seeds to plant or not plant in those areas.
And so in those areas where you have highly productive soils, where we have lots of nutrients, high organic matter, good soil conditions, and it's more than just the nutrients, it's also things like soil type, texture, topography, slope, because those things influence water. And if we have too much water, we can't grow a crop. And if we have not enough water, we can't grow a crop.
Lastly, we discussed the fertilizer job we commissioned to have happen in between my last visit and this one, and we've got reports now on what was put on the field based on what we think we needed on it because of those soil tests. And the first thing that was put on the field was anhydrous ammonia.
The thing to know about anhydrous, it's high concentration in nitrogen, and it's one of the cheapest forms, if not the cheapest form of nitrogen that we have today. So it's a great economic choice for your farm.
We also had them add sulfur and potash.
And again, based on those soil tests that we had, we were lacking in those things, and so we wanted to build those back up for the crops to use that throughout the year.
But it's not just nutrients that we need to worry about. Farmers also have to think about pests and disease that could potentially destroy their crops. And in that case, a farmer would actually have to make some pretty risky decisions about pesticides or fungicides, and if it was worth the cost to add these things preemptively, as once the crop starts to show signs of disease, in a lot of cases, it's already too late.
We look at things like potential rain, where the storms are coming from, wind patterns. Diseases will blow in on storms from the south or storms from the north, and we're like, oh, they had disease up in North Dakota. We just had a wind blow down, and then if we have the right weather, temperature, moisture, humidity, we have problems.
Thankfully, my agronomist wasn't too concerned for those things for my crop this year, and so we concluded our planning meeting that every farmer needs to have for the upcoming season.
So that's your prescription. We've taken all the data, we've made a plan, we just got to finish the work plan so we can go execute it in the field.
Appreciate it, guys. Till and plant. I'm excited to
Till then.
Stay planted.
Exactly.
It's gonna dry out.
And we're done, yeah.
It's gonna dry out. We're gonna get it in timely. It's gonna be great.
With a plan that we all hoped would work out in place, I then headed back to New York City and proceeded to religiously check the weather app for Iowa on my phone. It turns out that that's a big part of farming, actually. Essentially just cursing at the weather because it'll never do what you want it to do. Eventually, we got enough days of sunshine to dry out the farm. The machines are ready, the weather is finally cooperating, at least for now, and it's time to finally get the corn in the ground. But first things first, we have to till. Tilling, or tillage, is the process of turning or agitating the soil to mix up the harvest residue left over from last harvest and all of the organic matter and nutrients in the field back into the soil. Now, you might do this multiple times or not at all, depending on several factors, but we also have different tillage implements to use for different types of soil and different crops. In this case, we're using this tillage tool based on my agronomist's recommendations for this particular soil, what crop was in the field last season, and the fact that we know we're going to be planting corn this season. Now, in addition to various tilling tools, there are also various other tools that get attached to your tractor based on what you need to do that day. There are tools that help you plant, spray, etc. They all get hooked up to the tractor and integrate with the system built into the cab of that tractor. So, with our tillage tool hooked up, I then filled up the tractor with fuel and I brought it over to the field.
Oh, work plan found. North 20,
Yes.
that's me.
20, yeah, click on that one.
We're tillage 3 inches.
Yep, 3-inch depth. We're gonna start at 3 inches in this field, probably make a couple passes and see what kind of job it's doing, and then we can make adjustments to that either from the cab or from mobile on the app.
Coffee. Check. You knew there'd be coffee in this video at some point. So you might be wondering why I'm sitting on the side of my field instead of in the tractor starting to till. Well, thanks to the Gator with the GPS receiver on top that we use to map the boundaries of the field and the path plan that we created before, we can also use that data to have this autonomous capable tractor do most of the tilling for us. The way this works is that the tractor can use the GPS to know exactly where it is based on those plans, and even the non-autonomous tractors can use that to lock onto the path and drive along it on their own, essentially self-driving. But this autonomous version of the tractor has cameras located all around it. These are connected to a computer system on board that can use computer vision to actually see what's around the tractor in 360 degrees. It can then use this and data that it has to know when something that isn't supposed to be there is there, and then stop when it notices that. When that happens, you get a notification on your phone and a live feed of what the tractor is seeing, and you can then decide if, for example, it's a large rock and it needs you to go out and move it, or if it's not and you can just tell it to continue. And tilling is one of the first activities that Deere has automated. Frankly, because it's the simplest thing to automate, but you can easily see how more and more of the jobs on the farm could also be automated in much the same way. Okay, now that we've tilled the ground, it is time to plant the corn, arguably the harder job for today. Now, if I don't do this correctly, then the corn won't grow properly. My yields will be affected, or the amount of corn that I grow per acre, and I might not even turn a profit. So, no pressure.
We ended up choosing a specific seed a while ago since you need to place the orders well in advance, and the seed choices are honestly crazy. They are basically a video game character selection screen with each type of seed being better or worse at specific attributes, from stalk strength to drought tolerance to diseases and a ton of others. My agronomist again helped me decide on this particular variety that we have here for its potential yield and resistance to specific factors that he was concerned about, and the fact that we're growing it to be used for ethanol specifically. Then me, my agronomist, and Lee, a Deere production system specialist, went to load the seed into the planting implement on the back of the tractor.
That is not corn. I mean, it is, but
It is corn.
it's red corn.
So, do you know why the corn why it's red?
No, sir. But I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
You're correct.
Isn't it normally yellow? Right?
Normally yellow.
Yeah.
But that is red with some purple in there. So that's because it has seed treatment on it. So one of the things that we do with a lot of our modern corn is we put a seed treatment on it of fungicides, insecticides, and other beneficial products to protect the seed from insects and diseases. This bag of corn here, this is the most yield it will ever have, sitting right here. So this is the highest potential it will
I can
ever have.
only make this worse, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
Great.
The moment you take it out of the bag,
No pressure.
it all goes downhill from there.
Excellent.
And with that, I started to load the seed into the hoppers on the planter and then repeat until we had loaded all of the seed that we would need for my field. We also told the planter exactly how many seeds to plant as it goes along automatically. Again, based on the data that we had from our field, to make sure that we plant more in areas that will potentially do better and less in places that probably won't, in turn saving us seeds where they might not grow and thereby saving us money.
In certain areas here, I'm planting 36,000. In the red areas, I'm planting 30,000.
Yes.
So 6,000 less
that's
seeds
my
per
range.
acre.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you're not spending more on inputs in the areas that are not going to
return.
Exactly.
So it's going to automatically know to adjust the amount of seed depending on where we are in the field.
Yes.
Now, beyond the auto path feature we used back in the office a bit ago to decide the directions for the path that this planter should go through the field, we also have a feature called auto track, which takes those paths that we created and allows the tractor to self-drive itself onto that line and stay on it automatically.
Got her.
Put us
And
in
forward.
drive. That's
So
going
it gets
down. Good to go?
Yep. Good to go. Yep.
Okay, so now just let go.
Yep. Yep. And then throttle up. Get your speed. You got it.
Plants
You're
away.
planting.
That's cool.
At the end of each row, it'll even lift the planter in this case as we exit and automatically turn and then line itself up with the next row, put it back down, and go again.
And whoop, 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 whoop. Raise the planter.
Yep. Yep. Raise
There
it.
it goes.
Look at that. Making the turn.
Cool. Coming back around.
There it goes. It's going down. Seeds
Back
down in
down.
time to start.
And then
Perfect.
go.
Look at that.
Nice.
You still do have to back up on your own, which, of course, I was great at.
If I want the trailer to go that way, I should turn that way? Is that right?
No, the other
No.
way
Oh,
actually. Yeah, you
I
got it.
never remember it.
So the planter has a hopper or hoppers where we put the seeds in, then the seeds travel down tubes via a vacuum to each of these arms/rows. It then comes up into this disc that puts one seed in each of these holes to make sure that one seed is being deposited at a time, and then deposits them down a brush belt that then brings them down and scans them with a seed sensor on the way. This allows you to know just how fast the seeds are being deposited, or their rate, and confirm that there is only one seed being dropped per drop. And it's what lets us control that planting rate as we're moving along.
Think of every row on that planter as a robot that knows exactly where it is within 1 inch, and it knows based on the
As it's going
prescription
here,
it was
it's like
given,
dropping less, dropping more,
which
dropping more.
rate to apply at which part of the field.
Then the front of the planter works kind of like a zipper. It cuts open the soil, and the seed is dropped into that new furrow that is made by that, and then it's sealed back up behind it. And all of this is done at thousands of seeds per second. There's also a newer feature called Furrow Vision that allows you to see inside that furrow in real time and uses a laser to tell you how deep the furrow is and how far down the seed has been planted, how far apart they are, and debris making its way into the furrow, among other things. And you can adjust all of that on the fly from inside the cab or even in the Operations Center app.
So you can see the seeds being placed, see the spacing there
Yeah.
in the furrow vision. So the row cleaners are doing pretty good.
Yep,
Yeah.
seems fine.
It's also slightly mesmerizing.
Seed, seed, seed. Last stretch, here we go. And into my field. I did it!
You're officially a farmer.
Thank you for your help.
Nice job.
Appreciate
it's been a pleasure. Good job.
Thank you. Now, hopefully it grows.
Yep.
Okay, corn is in the ground. And now we pray for weather. Again. And hopefully Mother Nature does her thing. It turns out she did her thing, but then also did some other things that we didn't quite want her to do. So I headed back to the farm to sort that out. Corn! Look at it. Crazy. This was like a barren field not that long ago. And now, but corn is not the only thing that has grown in this field. We have some unwanted plants in the form of weeds. Ben, a sprayer operator from Iowa State University, showed me a sampling of what exactly we'd be dealing with.
So this one in particular, that's going to be closer to a grass, right? That's going to be a yellow foxtail. Then we have another one like this.
So many of them.
That one's going to be something called purslane. This is going to be some of our lamb's quarter. The hard part is when we start to deal with this guy. So that guy right there, that would be one of our biggest problems here in the central Midwest. That is going to be a plant called water hemp. That is extremely hard to kill.
I didn't realize there were so many weeds.
Yeah, this is just a small handful of what you can find out in the field.
Now, the weeds have to go, as they otherwise compete with our crops for nutrients, sunshine, space, and other resources. When that happens, the crops grow smaller or even not at all, and that brings down our yields and again significantly reduces the chances of turning a profit. And so, we're going to use this behemoth to help with that. Travis, the sprayer application engineering lead from Deere, began to explain to me the very complex system and its various complex controls.
Not moving.
Sorry, go back to park. You do have to release the park brake.
Where is that? This guy?
Nope, you're...
the P.
Yep. And
After we solved that user error on my part, the first thing we needed to do was unfold the massive spray.
So I'm pushing this all the way down.
yep.
It's like a transformer.
I've heard that analogy a lot.
It is,
honest.
though. It's exactly what it is. It's so cool.
So a sprayer is a long-armed vehicle that can spray various things onto a field. In our case today, that's herbicide onto the weeds to kill them. Now, normally in this type of farming, you'd probably just spray everything, including your crops, with something meant to just kill the weeds. But this one is equipped with something called See and Spray. So essentially, there are computer vision cameras on the arms of the sprayer that can tell what a weed looks like versus a corn plant or whatever crop you're spraying. And as we're going, it'll use a water gun type thing to spray just the plants that we don't want with the herbicide and nothing else. That obviously helps not spray the crops with it, but it also saves the amount of herbicide that we use too, as it is only used when necessary, which also then saves us money.
Just push that button.
Just it once?
Yep, and that's Boom Track Pro. So now it's going to automatically control the height of the boom, and it's going to do that in the field for us. So as we manipulate hills and stuff, it is actually going to adjust it and compensate for the terrain. We want to be as close to the ground as possible, but not so close that we need our nozzle to make a pattern, but we want to be as close to possible so we don't get drift and evaporation on its way down.
And the sprayer, like the other equipment, can use those paths that we made in the beginning to also self-drive itself locked onto those lines.
Okay, going in. We are in the field. And now master spray.
Yep, and so now we are seeing spraying.
Awesome. Oh, look at that. Is red weeds.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
yep.
Go back down.
Yep,
And then master on.
master on.
Heck yeah.
So go ahead and crank her
gun
up to
it.
8. So here we're in pretty much 100% weed coverage.
Yeah, this is
So
just,
constant.
I'm basically growing weeds here.
Right.
In spite of the ridiculous amount of weeds that I seem to be growing, we eventually got the entire field done.
And sprayed. Thank you for your help. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Fold her up, take her home.
Yep.
Okay. Weeds done. And now we go back to waiting. A lot of waiting and farming and hoping. But next up, harvest. Last time on the farm, I'm actually standing in my cornfield right now, but it is the most exciting time for most farmers, I imagine, and especially for me. Harvest.
Before we could get to that, though, we need to do some more planning, and my agronomist, Steven, is back to explain.
So if you look right here, the corn is shorter, the plants are pretty skimpy, and so the reason for this is didn't do anything wrong. The topography of this field funnels a lot of the water down here. And when you have standing water, it takes oxygen away from the plant, so it's harder to grow. It's going to influence what nutrients can get into the crop. So there's a big difference between here and just, 10 feet over. And your yield is very different here too.
The corn itself will be a very different weight here.
Yes.
Than it will be there, because obviously it didn't have enough nutrients to get larger.
Here. So an ear from one of these short plants.
Oh yeah, much smaller.
That's a really
baby
little
corn.
ear, right?
Yeah, it's baby corn.
That's low yield.
Yes, got it.
And so what this means is when we have our combine come through, we can go faster in these areas. We can maximize the throughput of the combine. It really comes down to how can we let the machine automate all that so we get the best performance out of our machine and we can harvest this crop as efficiently as possible. I don't want to pull this one off because this is a good ear, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, stop costing me money.
So, so this is a really good ear in terms of yield.
Yeah, that looks great.
The variation from this to this
is
what we're trying to control as an agronomist and as your advisor. So right here, you have tall corn and the ears are tall. But in other lower areas, your ears could be lower. And so that's the head has to manage how high it is off the ground to make sure we get every ear into the machine. Because you need money.
I need as much corn as humanly possible. The prices are down, I hear, so I need as much as humanly possible.
Lastly, out here, we need to take some of our corn off of a stalk and use a device called a moisture meter.
Am I filming this?
Yeah. Here, I have some.
Yeah, use yours.
We have some too. We can do this together. There's a trick to the trade here.
Yeah, show me.
You grab it and you twist a little bit. Twist, and it comes off a little bit easier.
Oh, I see.
I've had a lot of practice.
Yes, I was gonna say, this is my first time.
Screw that on tight. Now hit the power button, and that should come up and tell you which crop to select.
Corn.
Hit the middle button. 15.9%.
Is that good?
It's above 15.5, which is the cutoff for the elevator. So yes, we're good. We're right at the ideal moisture to take this away to the grain elevator.
Perfect. So it won't cost me more money.
Correct.
Because if I bring it there and it's not dry, they have to dry it.
Correct.
They dock me for that.
Correct. And they have to dry it down to 15.5.
15.9 is over 15.5, but it's okay.
Within
it's
a percent, you're
enough.
okay.
We then headed back inside to chat with Kevin, a senior product manager of harvesting technology at John Deere, to go over a few last things before we could get out into the field.
Essentially, we've queried satellite imagery providers to get biomass maps for this field. It will know with a fidelity of, call it several square meters, the relative biomass between certain areas of corn. So like Stephen was mentioning, as you walked through and you saw some of those heights, it will recognize areas of larger plants, smaller plants, etc. Or if, say, you had a late season weather event that laid a bunch of it down. And so then what that will do is that will come down with the work plan, and it will act as one of those predictive inputs to your speed control. We'll fire it up, we'll send this plan down to the machines, and we will be ready to rock and roll once we get out in the field.
The only thing is we were talking about prices earlier.
Yes, this part.
We were talking about prices.
Yeah, okay.
And so this is, remember the graph that Kevin was showing you earlier about corn price over time?
Yes, it looks terrible.
So this is where we're at right now. Terrible is a relative term, right?
It looks terrible relative to the corn prices.
Relative to the past couple years.
Yes, correct.
So the question, right, on our minds as we're going to harvest the crop is, do we have enough bushels at the right price for this to be profitable for you? So where we're at today, looking into the December future.
Yeah, what is the price?
We're right at $4.
What were we hoping for before? Higher than that.
So it could have been higher. So, a year and a half ago, we could have been in the $6 range. We thought we could have gone down even further into the $3s.
Oh, okay.
So I'm actually
we're relatively happy.
We're
to
okay.
Your point. Okay.
Given all of the market conditions and everything that's going on, I'm okay where we're at. But really, it's going to come down to your combine to make sure that we can get all of the yield, get all the bushels.
We need every last.
We need every bushel.
Kernel. Okay.
And with that, this is a combine. Essentially, what a combine does is it firstly combines a bunch of processes that back in the day would have been done by multiple machines. Firstly, there are different headers or implements that go on the front for various different crops, but regardless of the crop, this is where the plant is fed into as you drive along, and it then separates the part we want from the plant. The ear, in this case, then goes through the feeder house, which is a conveyor belt, and up into the machine where it gets threshed to remove the kernels from the cob and heavier materials of the plant. It then goes through separators that cause the heavier kernels to fall down while the chaff gets blown up by the fans. The chaff then gets shot out the back onto the field behind the combine, while the grain begins to fill the grain tank at the top. Basically, it's a factory on wheels. Okay, finally, it's time to pull the combine into the field.
And you'll notice you got a backup camera there up on the screen.
Cool. It's like a Mercedes.
You bet.
Okay, here we go. Heading out to the field. Okay, that's it. I just can start moving?
You can't, otherwise we can go through the rest of it.
Well, let's go through the rest of it. Yeah, guys, I'm scared. Let's get it all done and then go. Okay.
So to engage machine now, we're going to use these two big yellow buttons. Okay. Now the other one's the head.
Rev up the throttle, as in like move to this?
Yep. High position.
And first, we start harvesting the headlands, or the parts of the field that are not part of the back and forth straight rows that make up the majority and the center of the field.
That's cool. Just destroying corn. What a cool thing. Good luck, David. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
If you can use your mirrors, now we're going to back straight out the whole way. This is the hard part.
This is the hard part?
This is the hard part.
Okay. Got this. Feel a little confident. Feel like I can go faster. Let's see if that is a cocky mistake. I'm getting a little too cocky.
Oh, that was impressive. You did a great job.
I've lost one.
Just a couple plants. You did great. And whenever you're comfortable, we can go faster too.
Oh, I'm comfortable. Let's go. Bawa. I'm just mesmerized by like this. I could just stare at this whole day. And am I stopping here?
Yep. There. Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect.
That was pretty perfect.
Yeah.
To the end, except that this one guy. Do I move a little further to get him?
Just one, yeah. You got it.
Oh, good enough. Okay.
And once the combine is full, we need to offload the grain. This is normally done on the move to save time, but since we're in the headlands and my field isn't big enough, we're going to do a stationary drop for this one.
Hey, look who it is.
It turns out, Rex, John Deere's CTO, or Chief Tractor Officer, was my grain cart driver.
So what we want to do is dump in between the van.
Release the grain. Oh, look at that. Do I need to move it all?
Yeah, go ahead and roll that dial. Bring that spout down a little more. There you go.
So cool. Losing my grain. That's cool. There it goes by. One load done?
The hard part's what you just did.
Oh, the headlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The easy part's doing the middle.
All right, I got this.
After another load was harvested, it was time to try out John Deere's machine sync feature. So normally to offload your grain on the go, you would have to be pretty coordinated with the grain cart driver and make sure that you were both lined up, going the same speed, and then also adjust the position of the grain cart as it fills up so you can fill up different parts of it evenly. With machine sync, the combine and the grain cart can actually talk to each other, and they know where they both are down to the inch and automatically can match speed and position while we offload. I can also nudge the grain cart from here and manually move its position with some taps to fill different parts of the cart. Eventually, we got down to our last row.
Here we go. Get out. 6 months worth of work done. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you. Great job.
Thank you. Now we just gotta go sell it.
We then transferred the corn from the cart to a semi so that we can bring it down the road to where we're ultimately going to sell it. But since I don't have a commercial driver's license, I can't drive the semis. Thankfully though, John Jensen, a local farmer here, was kind enough to offer up 2 of his semis, and he's volunteered to drive me in one of them to bring my grain to an ethanol factory.
I've never actually been in a semi.
Really?
No. I was just thinking that just now. I was like, because I've been in like tractors and combines and everything.
And it rode a semi-truck.
We ended up having a lot of interesting conversations actually, ranging from farmers' financial troubles.
Old guys, old farmers, you know, that you get in 10 years of farming, usually you have 2 years of real good years, and in the 8 years you're just like
Skating by.
To why here in Iowa farming is so prevalent.
There's not too many places in the world that you can do what we're doing here. Perfect
Yeah.
weather and the perfect latitude, longitude.
And the soil was
soil and the rain,
right?
you know.
I was told the soil's from, there's like a glacier that came through here and
Yeah,
deposited all this, and if it
glacier,
wasn't for that, this wouldn't have as good soil.
Like that valley we went through, that was where the glacier melted, and that caused that valley, you know, to start
Oh,
melting.
interesting. See, I
It
didn't
was
know
all
that.
full of water. Biggest thing is try to preserve the soil and do stuff to you know, protect
Keep it going.
As we got closer to our destination, Jensen helped me understand the 2 places we were bringing my corn to today and what was different about them.
So where we're dropping this off today, they're going to actually process it there.
Process it there.
I was thinking we were dropping it off, selling to a, I don't know,
Well,
a
the
merchant
next
or
place
something.
she goes is an elevator. When that's just a drop off, they will buy the crop at that elevator, and then they could sell it to these guys. They could sell it, haul it to the river. They can haul it to Kansas City. They can do whatever they want with it.
Got it. I wonder if it's really annoying to live here.
I would think so. There's a lot of truck traffic all day long.
I'm saying, this is all you have is just semis
well,
going
somebody
by.
must not mind. They put a new that house.
That's
is
brand new.
That's
That's
new
brand
house.
new. But you notice
Yeah.
it's a little further away from
Yeah,
that.
far of the road. Yeah.
After a bit longer, we then arrived at the first stop, an ethanol processing plant. Ethanol is a low-cost, low-emission renewable fuel that gets blended with most of the gasoline that you get at the gas station for your car.
Bringing a load of corn in for Food Bank of Iowa.
We then pulled up to a grain tester and scale. It weighs your semi, but a large straw-like device dips into your grain and suctions out a sample of it to test and make sure that it's the right moisture and quality for what they need it for. And then, once that's completed, we drove into the plant and got out of the cab to begin dumping the grain.
Wow. Corn dropped off. Done. Takes a year to grow and 30 seconds to get rid of.
Then we got back into the semi and went to get weighed again on the way out and get our report.
Okay. Proof of the corn. Our first batch, at least. 1,101.43 bushels were just dropped off.
Then we headed back to grab the next load, where I ended up in a different semi that was already ready to go thanks to Damon, who works for Jensen.
That is a cool shifter.
I know, it's my little personal touch.
I like that.
We actually this is kind of our show truck type of thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
This is the one we want everybody to see.
It's the fancy truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made it to the grain elevator, and we went through a similar straw sampling process, weighing, and pulled into the drop-off area.
Oh, there's someone here to help you.
Yeah, they dump you.
Oh, that's fun.
They tell you when to stop. Dump your air, hop out.
Load number 2. Done. I love that it's a big mailbox.
Yeah.
But it's got a printer in it, I see.
Yeah.
That's funny. Nice. See how we did?
Yep.
We're all right.
I think so.
Another 998 bushels. Okay, head back to the farm and see how we did.
Then it was finally time to face the numbers.
Time to review.
I'm nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
You're nervous?
Yeah. I don't know how I did.
Well, David, we thought we would kind of just go back through the year. Remember back to when we started many, many months ago and
Prolong my judgment. That's cool. Yeah,
Yep.
it's fine.
Yep, you
Suspense
got
is
it.
fun. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
We then proceeded to go over the fertilizer application at the beginning of the season.
If we look at your total cost of production, fertilizer was 47% of your total cost per acre. And that planting operation went pretty well.
Corn was there.
We'll
so it
find
definitely
out
went
we'll
well.
find out how great it is,
correct.
right?
Then we discussed how my planting went.
you were 98% on target, right? So there's a
Wow.
lot of factors
Yeah.
that are going to go into that, right?
That is a good grade,
Yeah, the speed,
as far as I
80%.
can tell. Yeah.
the quality of the ride, the speed, things like that, right? You did a good job of getting that seed into the ground. Kind of see here, how close were we? We wanted 3 inches, right? Remember that 3 inches was that magic number? And so stayed pretty well within the margin there, right? Plus or minus quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So pretty consistent.
Your seed cost, just the dollars to put the seed in the ground, that was 31% of your total cost of production.
Yeah, got it.
Just to put seed in the ground.
Then we moved on to spraying, where things did sort of go a little sideways for me.
One of the things I think we ran into on this operation, David, was the timing aspect of farming.
Yep.
We had a date when we recommended that was probably the best day to go spray that didn't line up
We missed
with
that date.
your schedule, lights, weather, all those things. And so those weeds got bigger and bigger and bigger. So See and Spray on this operation saved us about a third, right? So everywhere we see here that's gray, prior to See and Spray, you would spray this entire field because you don't know where the weeds are.
Pray and spray.
Yes.
See and spray. Pray and spray.
Normally with See and Spray, we're saving about 2/3 of your total application. You had 31% here. So that's because of the timing,
Yes,
right? And the
right.
weather issues
All
we
the other
had, so
things
you
that
had
went
more
wrong,
weeds.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but I still saved 31%.
Exactly. Exactly.
Still better.
Then it was time to see the yield map and how much corn I actually grew compared to what we were aiming for.
Are you getting nervous? You getting nervous?
So that amounted to this yield map here. So on our approximately 20 acres, at 209 bushels per acre average for a total yield of 3,927 bushels, right? Or a little
Sounds
bit, a little bit more than 200,000 pounds. of corn.
200,000 pounds? Holy crap.
We had a really dry fall. Things dried down fast. We may have lost some yield off the top because of that. So let's say we had better growing conditions in a different year. We might have been able to push the populations more and get more yield, but we were capped by a lot of environmental factors this year. I mean, you experienced that, right? Weather.
Yes.
These
the
are
number one
types
enemy of every farmer.
Exactly.
I've learned.
And as an efficiency-minded person, I wanted to know how I could have gotten more yield.
But is there no way for me to know whether that would have worked or not?
Do trials.
That's it, right? You just have to keep doing
Correct.
it. Right.
Correct.
Because like right now,
And
the
you
data
could
just
look
shows what we did the thing that it did.
Correct. This is your first year farming.
Yeah, correct. I would learn from this, and I go, I did well there, but not
Push
there.
it up in these
Especially if I was doing the
yes.
same crop, the same variety, the same stuff.
Yes. As you learn, you're going to get better as a farmer.
Got it.
Here we see the weed map. So where there were 0 weeds, we were averaging 212 bushels per acre. Where there were lots of weeds, we're averaging significantly less than that, 197. So you can really see a direct correlation there between amount of weeds to yield.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, knowing the yield, what did we sell it all for? And at this point, I'm just wondering how much money I lost.
Okay, so we took the corn to market, we
did.
sold it, we had locked in that price of $4.10.
$4.10.
Okay, good.
We had a yield of 209. So if we come in here, plug these numbers in,
Your acres of production, 19 acres.
19.24
Your break-even corn price.
was 409.
Look at your ROI.
Here's my ROI. 0.13%. It's a healthy ROI.
And your total P&L.
$22.20. That's a win. I'm stoked.
$20.
$20. A round, half a round is on me.
I mean, there you go. There you go. That's what you made.
That's it. That equals that. Done. Great.
All your work,
So crazy.
all your time,
Yeah, that's
came down to
insane.
$20.
No, that's insane. But this is like going into this, like that was kind of something I was thinking about anyway. It was like even the margins that we were anticipating were around 5%. We did worse,
Yeah.
but around 5%. And like to be honest, taking that money and putting it into a savings account would have had 0 risk. Take it out whenever I want. If I left it in there long enough, it would have made, let's say, 5.5% on a treasury bond right now. That's crazy.
Wouldn't have required as much work.
Would require any. Just a push of a button on an app, essentially.
I think there were a lot of factors this year. We'd originally talked about 200 bushels.
Yep.
Yes.
So we did a little better than that.
Okay.
So that's good.
But the price went down.
But
Yes.
when we first met in January, the price has changed quite a bit, right? The price of corn has gone down. The price of inputs has gone up. The price of renting land and machinery also gone up. You can see the breakdown here of where all the money went, right? Just to kind of see, okay, land, fertilizer, seed, chemical.
That's where all the money went. Doing this at scale would help a little bit. You can
Yeah,
spread
sure.
out some of those
Sure,
costs
sure.
across more acres.
Well, that also makes sense why there's a lot more larger and larger farms.
Yep.
Because the economies
It's
of
really
scale.
hard to make money on
Yeah,
20 acres.
the economies of scale probably edge in your favor that way.
And again, at the beginning of the year, when you started this whole thing, you bought the inputs, you bought the seed, and you planned to plant it, and you had no idea what you were going to sell it at. You have no control over what you're going to sell it at.
No.
There's some things you can do. There's some marketing that we
Yeah,
could do, but that's what you got.
Again, I'm counting this as a win because I was just, if I made $1, I said I was going to be really happy. So
You're
$20,
one-
I'm 2,000% higher
Yeah.
than I expected to be. And it, and I will say it was enjoyable. It was fun. I get why people farm.
What are you gonna
Turn a
buy-
profit? That's incredible. I'm pretty surprised.
What are you going to do with your
Fully expecting
$20?
to lose, like be like, you lost all the money. I already told you, half a round of drinks is on me. Let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This was a
has been
blast.
amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm gonna take this with me. Let's go get a drink. $22 whole. Now, honestly, we actually donated all of the money that we made from the grain to the Food Bank of Iowa. That $20 is just what I would have made. I have to say, though, that I went into this just hoping I wouldn't mess up and make a fool of myself. So the fact that I made a profit at all, I'm quite happy with that. I have to say thank you to John Deere for saying yes when I gave them this crazy idea that I wanted to show people what it took to actually farm, and for making all of this possible. Now, honestly, I hope that, like me, when I was originally visiting farms, that this has opened your eyes into what it actually takes to farm, just all the work that goes into it, and then you have a new appreciation for farming and for farmers. And I just hope that I did all of this justice. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go watch one last sunset on my farm. Good night. And we're back on the farm, and today's the first day that I get, excuse you, pheasant or goose, I don't know. Oh, drone. This was a barren field not that long ago. Backing up tractor. No, it's the autonomous tractor turning on. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. It likes to let everybody know that it's turning on. Safety.